CJAD, AM stereo. Wherever you go, whatever you do, take CJAD along with you. Weekend news, sports and weather, rock, roll, and remember, CJAD 800 stereo, the beat of Montreal.
I came to Canada from communist Hungary, and my parents gave me a crystal clear idea of Canadian values. Being Canadian to me means the freedom to say live on radio that Bombardier gets too much money from government without worrying about a knock on your door in the middle of the night. Being Canadian to me means you don't have to accept the ideas and beliefs that other people may hold, but you respect the people who hold those ideas. Being Canadian to me means freedom of religion as well as freedom from religion and the freedom to criticize religion. Being Canadian to me means the freedom to vote for the political candidate of my choice, but above all, being Canadian to me means freedom of speech.
Elias Mackers, CJAD 800.
That voice you just heard, a man of wit, a man of smarts, a man that used to be sitting in this chair, and it's our pleasure on the 75th birthday for CJAD 800 to welcome Tommy Schnurmacher onto the program, of course, former mid-morning host here. And he's also the author of the new book, Makeup Tips from Auschwitz, How Vanity Saved My Mother's Life. It's available, by the way, at Paragraph Books, all the other booksellers out there as well. Tommy, thanks so much for coming on the show to celebrate with us.
A pleasure, Elias. Happy 75th birthday.
So, Tommy, listen, I'll say it. I know sometimes this can be, awkward when you tell someone, I grew up listening to you. and I'll say this, it started for me, even though I like to consider myself the spring chicken here at CJAD 800. I had a 22-year-old come up to me the other day. It was like, oh, I've been listening to you forever. I'm like, how old are you? 22. So it happens. But Tommy, I say this from the bottom of my heart. I'm not here today if I don't grow up listening to people like you. And, I still remember turning up that radio when your voice came on. And I don't know if that's how that makes you feel, but
it makes me feel wonderful. I love it. It makes me feel wonderful.
I always want to hear stories about how people got in the door here. I think about my story, and I hear stories about the crazy ways you end up working at CJAD 800. How did you get your first job here?
Well, it was quite strange. I got my first job. My first job in radio was because I was out drinking at a bar and bumped into this guy, Bobby Boulanger, who used to work at Shome. And he read articles I used to write in a magazine in New York called After Dark magazine. He said, "Why don't you do for Shome what you did for, what you do in the magazine?" I said, "Okay," and I went and worked at Shome for a year. Then I got a call from Ted Blackman. And I was doing entertainment reviews at Shome. I'm thinking, why is Ted Blackman, the sports guy from CJAD, calling me? And at one point he was also program director. Why is he calling me? Did I give his daughter a bad review in a play or something? I have no idea why he's calling me. Yeah. So he says, "Listen, I've been listening to you on Shome. I want to hire you at CJAD. What's going to happen is people are going to hate you for 3 months, and then they're going to love you." And so he made me this offer, and I came over to CJAD. And when I was working at Shome, the moment I got the job at Shome, I called my mother and I told her, "Guess what? I'm working at a radio station." And she said to me, "When you get a job at a real radio station like CJAD, then call me." And so, of course, you can imagine when I got that real job at CJAD, I called her and told her that. Now, I've got a very interesting anecdote about Bob at CJAD. She used to listen to CJAD all the time, of course. She'd even call in when I did my show using the name Julia. We're listening. Listen to this. We're listening to CJAD on a Sunday morning, and an announcement comes on. The news comes on about that Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau and his wife Margaret are the proud parents of a baby boy. And it was on Christmas Day. It was December 25th, 1971. And as we're hearing it in the kitchen, my mother turns to me. She says, "Mark my words. One day he will be Prime Minister, this kid." And it turned out to be true. And I've subsequently told that story to Justin Trudeau. My mother predicted he'd be PM literally on the day he was born.
Tommy, you mentioned Ted Blackman before, and I want you to reminisce about Ted. That's another guy that I grew up listening to. How was it working with Ted Blackman?
Oh, Ted was a dream come true to work with. He was a tremendous guy. As a matter of fact, I remember one Christmas party where somebody made some disparaging remarks about me at the Christmas party, and saying that why did he hire me? Told that to Ted Blackman. So what Ted Blackman did was I'd already left the party when this happened. Mm-hmm. So Ted Blackman decked him and punched him in the jaw, knocked him out at the Christmas party. So
Are you serious?
The live years. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I won't tell you who the person was. Who's rather well known, the guy who's knocked out. But there you have a bit of the story.
Geez, our Christmas parties, and of course we're not having one this year. Of course, in the same way we're doing a virtual one this year. But the corporate Christmas party is not the same as what that sounds like, Tommy.
Oh wow, the corporate Christmas parties used to start at noon and continue till 5 at the Beaver Club of the Queen Elizabeth Hotel with like a delicious buffet dinner and dancing and booze, etc. And the owner of the company at the time, Conrad Black, would show up. So
really?
Yeah.
Tommy, listen, I have a note here that I should ask you what you were doing at CJAD exactly 40 years ago today. What was happening for CJAD's 35th?
Oh, okay. So I wasn't even aware at the time that it was CJAD's 35th at the time, but in the wee hours of December the 8th, late at night, maybe 12:30, 1 in the morning, right? I would go into CJAD studios. I was doing entertainment reviews at the time, and I would tape a review of a play or a movie that I had seen. So that's exactly what I did. I don't remember the name of the movie, but I reviewed a movie and then went home and went to bed. I wake up early in the morning to hear that John Lennon, right, had been killed, had been assassinated in New York. So I figured, well, I can't have my entertainment bit today being a review of a movie, right, even though I taped it the night before. So I rush in and say I've got to do it live with George Balkan. And, of course, they wanted to talk to me because I, met John Lennon and Yoko at the Bed-In 11 years previous to that occasion. So I got there at the nick of time as they're about to play the tape. And the tape was literally like, what those old tape recorders look like, the big round reels.
Reel to reel.
Literally, I didn't know which button to push to stop it. And, I made the sign across the neck, like, cut that. And so he cut that, and I came in, hi, George, how are you? And he said, Tommy's here for his entertainment review. And then I said about what happened, and we talked about the passing of John Lennon and what John Lennon meant to a generation, et cetera, et cetera. But, I saved the day. Can you imagine how stupid I would have looked running a movie review on a day like that?
On that, Tommy, take us back to what was the emotion? Let's divert from CJAD 75, but what was the emotion learning that news that John Lennon was killed?
Oh, it was like an unspeakable shock because it was mainly denial. That it's not true. It can't happen. Like, it couldn't be. The end of an era couldn't happen. That the Beatles aren't all there couldn't be. Even though they split up back then, of course. But it just couldn't be that had happened. It really was, I'd say, for a long, long time, certainly for a few days, it was one of complete disbelief. That's how it started. The stages of grief start like that. They start with denial, and that was it. It was denial.
Tommy, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I know our listeners thank you for being such an important part of the history of CJAD 800, and I look forward to all of our future chats.
Elias, thank you very much. You do a spectacular job. I listen all the time. Keep up the good work.
That's the voice of Tommy Schnurmacher, former CJAD 800 mid-morning host. And if you love Tommy and you want to read his words, I suggest to you pick up a copy of Makeup Tips from Auschwitz, How Vanity Saved My Mother's Life. It's available at all your fine bookstores, including Paragraph and all the online guys as well.